Wajma Islami. I'm one of the counselors at Mountain House High School. Online with us tonight is Arturo Espinoza. He's a Delta College counselor.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. We're excited to have you all here tonight.
Yeah, I'm going to give us a couple more minutes to let people join our live session before we get started with our presentation for tonight. We will be covering a lot of information, but if you have any questions that you feel like were not addressed, you can put them in the chat, and at the end of our presentation, we'll be more than happy to address those questions. Okay, we'll wait another minute or so, and then we'll get started. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. It's about 6:31, and I don't want to take up too much of your time this evening. I want to honor and respect everyone's time, so we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome, Cohort 8 students and parents. We're happy to have you as part of our early college program here at Mountain House High School, and Delta College is thrilled to work with us as well. So let's get started. So we're going to go over high school expectations and class information. For starters. So the program requirements, and we've communicated this information before, but a lot of it will feel like repeated information, but we really want to make sure our cohort students understand the requirements to continue on in the early college program. So the program requirements are for students to maintain a 3.0 high school and college semester overall GPAs. They must always pass all high school and college classes. We have found that a lot of students that don't really have the passion for being in early college, but their parents are really excited for the program, don't do as well. We had a lot of that this past semester. And so I want to emphasize that students must be passing all of their high school and college classes to remain in the program. They must meet all high school graduation requirements, follow the cohort class schedule, and complete a Mountain House professional pathway. Luckily, this cohort did a fantastic job. I was able to go through all of your course requests, and everybody had a professional pathway in their course request. So I was very happy to see that. Because you're a part of the early college program, you are guaranteed your spot in the cohort classes. Okay, so if you're you're guaranteed your spot in the Delta College cohort classes and also your pathway class at Mountain House High School. So if you put in biomed and you're in early college, you're going to get your biomed class. And also, like I mentioned, you'll get your classes at Delta. Delta classes get full really fast, and so our cohort students are really privileged that they are able to guarantee a spot into some of those classes. Other benefits are that you're able to have 3 flex periods in your junior and senior year. So a lot of parents and students are concerned because as they move on in the cohort, they notice that their classes that they're taking at Delta College are getting a little bit more difficult in their junior and senior year. And to reflect that, we offer our early college cohort students 3 flex periods in their junior and senior year to alleviate some of that stress that they're going to be going through at Delta College. There are several classes that are part of the early college cohort program that students do not have to also take at the high school. And we're going to go over what those classes are, the equivalents that we consider at the high school. Another benefit is that students will get experience with college courses and gain college readiness for when they're moving on to their 4-year universities. At the end of it, they'll either complete the IGETC or complete the AS or AA. Actually, they'll complete either IGETC or an AS and AA degree. Anything you want to add as program benefits?
I would want to say that, obviously your high school students, they get to learn about the college setting under the care of you as their parents, which is a big benefit to them. It can be, a really big deal for some students in transitioning from being a high school student to a college student. So they get to do that under your watch and under your care, and they get to really be fostered in that sense, and they come uh, more prepared than their typical students who are graduating from high school and then going to the universities. These students are coming in with college experience already. They're prepared for what it's going to look like, the academic rigor, as well as some of the processes and policies they have to follow.
Yeah. Another benefit that I wanted to talk about is that all of our early college cohort students get to meet with the Delta College counselor on Mountain House High School's campus every fall and every spring. They have the opportunity to ask questions, discuss concerns, and say whatever they need to say to a Delta College counselor and myself, the early college coordinator, while they're at school. They don't have to make like a separate appointment or anything like that. We do provide a lot of counseling support to these students to make sure that they're continuing to stay on track and to be able to share any questions or concerns that they may have. So I've been getting a lot of emails about what classes our cohort students are going to be taking in the fall of 2022. The two classes that we start out with at Delta College is Counseling 11. It's a new student orientation. This class is only 0.5 or 1?
0.5 units.
It's 0.5 units, so it's a very short, brief class. It's just if you want to say more about what the class is.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the Counseling 11 course, we give our students an introduction to what the college setting is. We discuss, expectations for academic rigor, as well as different policies and different processes that students have to follow in the college setting. We introduce them to student services and all the different resources available to our students as Delta College students. And along with that course, they're also going to be taking Religion 14A, which is our great religions of the Eastern world. Now, this course is to fulfill their general education requirements, and it is more of a history course of religions.
Thank you. So when you're completing your college early start, which is the CES form, these are the two classes that you will put as what you're taking. And then I will also show you where you can find the complete cohort 8 plan throughout this session. So earlier I was saying that there are several classes that students will take at Delta College that they don't have to take at Mountain House High School. So early college classes that count for both high school and Delta classes are as follows. So all of our early college cohorts, regardless of what, the nice part about this situation is it doesn't matter if you do IGETC or the ASAA degree. These classes are a part of both tracks. So English 1A is equivalent to our AP Lang. It counts for 11th grade English. History 17A is US history, and we count that as an equivalent to AP US history. Stats 12, which was previously known as Math 12, we consider the equivalent to AP Stats. History 2B, AP is equal to AP World History. English 1B will cover their 12th grade English requirement. Econ 5 and Poli-Sci 1 will cover their AP Gov and Econ requirement. So it's nice that students don't have to take a ton of Delta College classes on top of taking full loads at the high school, because we do give them the dual credit for these.
Is everybody able to hear me when I'm speaking? Can anybody let me know in the chat, please, if you can hear me speaking? Okay, I'm seeing a yes, so it sounds like you guys are able to hear me. So let's move on here. We're having some technical difficulties with the streaming service, but thank you. So taking a look here, we've got the transcripts for Mountain House High School, and this is just a quick slide on understanding your high school transcript. And so you'll see here, they designate which courses you take in the college setting. It'll say San Joaquin Delta College, and then the course will be listed right there, as well as the GPA. And so just a reminder that the GPA is a 5-point scale when it comes to the courses taken at Delta College. And so in terms of the Cohort 8 educational plan, all students start on the I Get C track. So they will take 2 classes per semester in their freshman and sophomore year. And then students may choose the AS track, which is the associate's degree track, where students do earn 2 associate's degrees at the spring of their sophomore year. Or students can choose to stay on the I Get C track. So the difference in the 2 tracks is that the I Get C track, students take 2 courses each semester only during the fall and the spring. If students choose to follow the associate's degree track, then they will be taking 2 courses each summer, beginning with the end of their sophomore year. So they'll have 2 courses in the summertime at the end of their sophomore year, 2 courses at the end of their junior year during the summer as well. And they will also be taking additional courses during their senior year. So they will be taking 3 courses during their senior year, as opposed to the 2 if students stay on the I Get C track. Of course, the I Get C track is where students complete all lower division general education requirements, which are accepted by the CSUs as well as the UCs. And those students are eligible to be ranked as possibly sophomore standing when they start at the universities if they're on the I Get C track. If students choose to follow the AS track or associate's degree, then those students might potentially be reclassified as junior standing when they get to the 4-year universities based on the number of units that they have completed. So again, looking here at what the difference is between the AS and the I Get C. The biggest difference, of course, is the summer classes. So that's a big deal to note. If you're following the AS track and getting the associate's degree, you have 2 courses each summer at the end of your sophomore year and at the end of your junior year. The I Get C track does not include any summer courses. The AS track also includes an additional course during their senior year, both in the fall and in the spring. So those students who choose to do the AS track will be taking 3 courses in the fall and 3 courses in the spring of their senior year, versus the I Get C students, they will only be taking 2 courses each semester. And so we want to discuss understanding your role at Delta College. Coming into the early college program does mean you are considered a college student, right? That's a really big thing to understand. So we do expect students to conduct themselves in a respectful manner. It's really important that they exercise academic integrity and that they be ethical. Plagiarism is not tolerated in the college setting, and if a student is caught plagiarizing, they are subject to different sort of consequences, including being removed entirely from the community college district, which means the student would no longer be able to take college courses at Delta College. Of course, college classes will not be tailored to high school students, so that's definitely another thing to take into consideration. Your students are taking college level classes, and we are discussing college-based content. So that's a really big deal to note that the content is not tailored to high school students. So they are expected to conduct themselves as young adults and to, conduct themselves as a regular college student would. It's really important that students register on time for classes. And we work really closely with our staff as well as with the counseling staff at Mountain House High School, which for you guys would all be Ms. Aslami. And we make sure that we send reminders to the students who have not enrolled into their courses. But it's really important that you follow those instructions really clearly and really efficiently so that we can make sure that all your spots are saved in the courses and we can get you enrolled in a timely manner. That being said, it's also important to routinely check your Delta student email. You will get emails from professors, you will get emails from the counselors in the college setting, and you will also get emails from Delta College in general about opportunities and student services. So it's really important that our Delta College students regularly check in there with their student emails. It's also important that we turn in required forms by the assigned deadlines. Again, it's really strict that we follow those deadlines to make sure that we are successful in getting our students enrolled into their courses. And of course, it's imperative that they follow the Mountain House High School program guidelines in order to continue and be an eligible student in the program. You must be meeting all the requirements in the high school setting as well as the college setting. And so the student code of conduct, so I'm just going to read through this to make sure that we all understand. A student enrolled at San Joaquin Delta Community College District assumes an obligation to conduct him/herself in a manner compatible with the district's function as an educational institution. This includes the obligation to act with honesty, integrity, and respect. Students are expected to treat members of the campus community, district property, and personal property of members of the campus community with respect, and to take care not to cause harm to others or their property. So again, it's really important that our students are conducting themselves in a very respectful manner, conducting themselves as young adults, because any sort of insubordination or any sort of damage to property or other people will not be tolerated in the college setting. And we're also going to discuss FERPA. Now, FERPA is going to be a term that's going to be new to a lot of you. And so students have rights under FERPA, which stands for the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. Under no circumstances should student information, grades, or progress in class be disclosed to any individual without a signed release of information. Students under the age of 18 are entitled to the same confidentiality restrictions as adult students. And any concerns about requests for release of information should be discussed with the division dean or the assistant superintendent vice president of instructional service. And what this means for you all, especially parents, is that parents cannot walk up to Delta College and say, what is my kid's grades? I need a report card. I need this information from their class. That information is all protected. Even though the students are under 18 years old, they are still protected under FERPA. Okay, so that's really important to understand. Anytime you need information, your student needs to be present with you, and your student needs to agree to be able to share that information with you at the time. And so moving on to the Delta ID numbers. So this is going to be a big matter. When you apply to Delta College, you receive an email with a Delta student ID number, and it looks like this. It starts with the number 100. There's usually a few other zeros, and it is a 10-digit number. And you will need this number to access your My Delta account, to register for classes, to schedule counseling appointments, to request official transcript, and others as well. So it's really important that our students start getting really comfortable with their Delta ID number, start memorizing their Delta ID number, because anytime you contact the college to set up any appointments or you need to access information, the first thing we will ask is, what is your Delta ID number? So really important that we get comfortable with our Delta ID numbers, start memorizing them, and utilize them anytime necessary. And we did mention this earlier, but again, it's really important that our Delta students check their email at least 3 or more times a week. Emails come from admissions and records, from professors, from counseling, as well as other important reminders from Delta College. And so students access their email by logging into their Okta account, which can be accessed at deltacollege.okta.com. Students sign in, and then they'll click on the tile that says Microsoft Office Mail. It's the little envelope icon, it'll be blue, and that'll open their Delta student email so they can access their information there. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and talk really quickly about steps on how to add your classes each semester. So let's look at class registration. The first step here is making sure that students do complete their college early start form. Students in the early college pathway will receive reminders from Ms. Aslami, as well as other reminders from our Delta College staff, reminding them to complete their college early start form. Before students register for classes, they must complete the DocuSign College Early Start form each semester that they will take classes at Delta College. This form will be signed digitally by the student, and then by the parent or legal guardian, and then the high school counselor. So when a student accesses this form, they're asked to enter their name and their email address, then the name and email address of their parent or guardian, and then the name and email of the high school counselor. And so how this form works is through DocuSign. The student fills in their portion and they complete it. Once they hit complete, it goes off and it gets sent via email to the parent or guardian. They'll review the information, add their signature, they'll complete, and then it gets sent to the high school counselor. The high school counselor will be the final one to review the form, make sure everything is appropriate, and as long as they agree with the courses listed on the form, they'll add their signature, and that gets sent off to Delta College. And then once the Delta College receives it, they clear the hold in the student's account, and then they're able to register for their courses. And so the next step after completing the CES form is logging into your My Delta account. And again, this can be accessed by going to deltacollege.edu/mydelta-portal, or you can just visit deltacollege.edu and then click in the top right corner, the My Delta link. You'll click log into My Delta, and then you'll log into your account. And then Wajma, if we can go to the next slide, please. And so step 3, in terms of registering in My Delta, the last step is to make sure that once you're logged in, we do have a video tutorial posted online on how to register for the courses. And we do send these as reminders when we ask our students to register for their courses as well. But just to put it simple, students log into My Delta, they click on Manage Classes, and then they click Class Search and Enroll. They enter the class that they are looking for, and then they click on the class to register for it. And some other important reminders, of course. This is academic expectations for students in the college setting. So we do have academic and progress probation, and it's really important that our students remain in good standing. Now, good standing is making sure that they have a 2.0 GPA and that they are completing at least 50% of their units attempted. When students fall below that, they go under what's called academic probation. So here, taking a look at academic probation is when the term GPA falls below a 2.0, or for our early college students, when it falls below a 3.0. We also have progress probation, which is where students are failing to complete 50% or more of the units that they are enrolling in. And so if students fall into 3 consecutive semesters of academic or progress probation, they are dismissed from the college. So it's really important that we be aware of that, and then making sure that students are maintaining their good academic standing.
Okay, can we hear me now?
We can hear you, Wajma. Welcome back.
Sorry, I don't know what happened to my audio.
No worries. We got it taken care of.
Yes, but I'll let you finish off, and then I'm going to go back to like CS forms.
Sounds good. No worries. So what is a unit? Let's discuss that. So each college class that you take is assigned a value called credits or called units. So class time and study time. For each 1 unit that a course is assigned, that is considered 1 hour of class time each week, in addition to 2 to 3 hours of studying and homework. And our college early start students can take a maximum of 11 units, though they typically only take between 6 and 9 in this program. With the exception of those who are doing the associate's degree. During their senior year, they do take 3 courses, and then they can fall between 9 and 11 units. But this is really important to understand, because in the college setting, a typical class is going to be 3 units. And that's the most common in terms of the load that gets assigned to our general education courses. So if you're looking at a 3-unit class, that is considered 3 hours of class time each week, in addition to 6 to 9 hours of studying and homework per 3-unit class. So really important to understand the unit assignment for our courses as well. Options for textbooks. Some of the courses that you take through Delta College may require that the students purchase textbooks. They can do so by either doing through the campus bookstore, which is done actually through our Stockton campus. That's where the bookstore is located. Students can purchase new, used, or they can rent there. There's also a textbook sellback at the end of the semester if students purchase through our campus bookstore. However, many students opt to just purchase the textbooks online. You can opt for Amazon, eBay, or any other sites that you choose to look. Of course, the professors will always tell you during the first week of classes if any materials or textbooks are needed, and it'll also be listed on the syllabus as well when the class begins. And that is when you know if you need to look up any textbooks, purchase any textbooks, and have those prepared for the course. Some Mountain House campus resources as well. Now, currently, Delta College is still sort of operating in a pandemic mode. So a lot of our services have been shifted to online services. But in a regular setting, we do have all of these resources available on campus. Currently, a lot of these are currently operating online, but students have access to counseling. They have access to tutoring. We have a library as well. There's a computer lab. Students do have access to printing. They can submit documents. We sell parking permits. There's faculty office hours if students need to meet with their professors in their during their office time. We sell Scantrons and Blue Books for those students who are taking exams. And there's also, we have campus police located on the Mountain House campus as well. And so the Delta College hours and the phone number while in this distance learning format. Here is the Google Voice phone number, which is 209-425-1608. Our hours currently are Mondays and Fridays. We are fully remote, so that means everyone is working online from 8:30 to 5. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, our offices are open from 8:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then again, just reiterating some of the information here. Now, this is what our typical hours look like in a normal operation setting. We have the phone number there for the office, the hours which we typically are open. The email's listed here as well, which is our mhcampus@deltacollege.edu. That's a really good way to get a hold of us if you just want to shoot a quick email. Again, you can call us as well via phone. We have the library's contact information there as well, and campus police as well. Campus police is operating on campus, so this is a good phone number to have just in case you have an emergency or there's anything that comes up. You do have the resource of reaching them while you're on campus or near the campus. Wajma, it looks like we lost your audio. I apologize. We cannot hear you again. No, we still cannot hear you, unfortunately.
Can we hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Okay, so I had to do a little refresh. I apologize. I have no idea why I'm having technical difficulties. But I wanted to go back and talk about the CES form. One of the main questions that I get and the most complicated parts of this seems to be the CES form. And so what we're going to do is go back to that form, and I want to express a few errors that I see families doing. So what happens is students will fill out their name and then their email, and then all of the rest of the information, parent and counselor information. For the counselor part of early college, always use my email, my name and email. Even though you have a separate alpha counselor for all of your other stuff, you'll have you'll use my name for all of your early college stuff. One thing to keep in mind is students and parents like to sign the form together, and it doesn't work that way. When students sign the form after they put in this information, the DocuSign will go to the parent email they put in. And unless the parent goes into their email and signs from their email, it will not reach the counselor. So that's a very important step that I just don't want students and parents to miss, is their part, that they have to go into their email and sign the form using the DocuSign, and then it will come to me as a final step. So I just wanted to reiterate that part. So now the presentation is pretty much over. If you have any questions in relation to early college in particular, I would love for Mr. Espinoza and I to answer those. But if you have questions in general on how to take classes at Delta on your own outside of this program, I'm going to have you email your counselor in regards to those questions, because those can be multiple layer questions, and we don't really have time tonight to answer outside of early college cohort questions. Yeah, so I have a question right now. Can the kid enroll in Spanish isn't a part of our cohort program? That's a question that you can email me, since I am your child's counselor, and I will be more than happy to answer those questions specifically for you outside of the cohort program. So go ahead and type in your questions in the chat. In the meantime, I'm going to show you the early college cohort 8 plan that we have on the website, and how to get to a lot of early college information through our website. So if you go to the Mountain House High School website, under academics, you'll see early college pathway. When you click on early college pathway, many of you have been here because this is how you applied, but there are the early college cohort plans. If you click on this, it will take you to cohort 8. And here is the plan for cohort 8. It shows you the AS degree, and so yeah, it shows you the whole full plan. But if you're doing IGETSI, you'll just have to know that you won't take the summer sessions, and you'll only take two classes per year in your senior year. For the DocuSign, if my son does not have personal email and use parent email, how can I sign for both? So all students have a personal email. They have their Delta College email, and they also have their Mountain House High School email, so they can use either one of those. So your student should be doing this form on their own, because they're going to have to do this form every single semester. The fall, the spring, the summer, every semester before it starts, they're going to have to do this form. So it's a really good habit for your students to learn themselves. And they do have a school email address, which is their ID number at lammersvilleusd.net. And if they enrolled at Delta, they also have a Delta email, and either one of those emails is fine. So the courses to enroll for the fall, we did go over, but also we'll go over again. I'm going to zoom this in a little bit so we can see it a little better. So Counseling 11 and Religion 14A are the two classes that they will sign up for this semester. And I believe we did mention those. I will also be sending an email. For the CES form, all you have to do is just put the title and the class number. As far as what they're going to enroll in and what specific sections, I send that information out to all students and parents. I tell you, please enroll in Counseling 11, section 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Religion 14A, section 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I will give you those specific numbers, and I will also include steps on how to go through My Delta to enroll in each class.
And so I'll take the next question, and it says, how many units can you take in a year? So students aren't limited in terms of the year. In the college setting, our college early start students, which are high school students who are concurrently taking college classes, are limited to 11 units each semester. Okay, so each semester being the fall, the spring, and the summer. So they are limited to 11 units each semester. However, students in the early college pathway program are expected to enroll in the exact courses that are required for the program. So, for example, in the fall, they will be enrolling in 3.5 units, which is the 3-unit Religion 14A plus the 0.5 unit Counseling 11.
Do you want to take the next question as well?
Yes, and it says, what days and times are the classes going to be? And so that decision is still being discussed currently. Again, Delta College is still currently operating under a pandemic setting. So the majority of our classes have been taking place in the online setting, which online, we've also been operating our classes in an asynchronous format, which means students do not have to meet on specific days and times. However, for the fall semester, if we are online with these two courses, they are going to be synchronous, which means they will have set dates and times, and the students will be expected to meet online via Zoom with their professors during those times. The fall semester will be finalized for Delta College towards the middle of April, and that's when we'll for sure have an idea of the dates and times for the students' courses. But of course, we understand they're high school students, so they're always going to be scheduled to take place usually after the 4 o'clock time.
Yes. When is the CES form due for first semester? I will email everybody that RSVP to this meeting, and I will give you the link of where the CES form is, when it is due by, and I'll include the instructions again on how to complete that form. So if you missed some of that information early on in the presentation, don't worry. I do a lot of communication with students throughout each semester. We keep track on who has enrolled successfully and who hasn't, and we kind of follow up. We try our best to make sure that you're meeting all the timelines. Earlier in the presentation, I had also mentioned that cohort students are guaranteed classes at Delta College, but that's if they do things in a timely fashion. If your student is not responding to email, not submitting their CES on time, not enrolling in their classes at an appropriate time, then that guarantee part really goes out the door. We do give priority registration for our early college students, but when they miss that priority time, then it's kind of like up in the air. And if they're not taking their classes in the timely fashion with the cohort, then they're not going to be able to continue in the cohort, which leads us to our next question that says, are they supposed to take the courses in the same order mentioned in cohort 8 plan? Yes. The cohort model is where students join something together, finish it together, taking all the same classes. These cohorts are designed in a way where counselors are able to track their progress easily. If every student did an individual plan, it would be impossible for us to figure out where students are as far as their IGETSI or ASAA degree. Students are able to create their own plans if they want to do it outside of the early college program and do their own thing, but they would work with a Delta College counselor at that point and figure out how to make that work with their high school schedule. The supports that are in place for early college cohort style, where all students are taking the same classes in the same semester in the same sections, is designed so that we can better support them as first-time college students while still being 14, 15 years old. So let's see. Where do we get the registration form? I will email everybody the CES form. It's the college early start form. It was also a part of the RSVP form, where I did provide the link, and many of you have already done it, which is awesome.
The next question says, the CES form asks for a course number. What is the course numbers for this fall's courses? So on the form where it asks for course dash number, it's talking about the shortened name of it. So here we have counseling, or just COUN, COUN 11, that would be the course number. And then in the title or the description, you would put new student orientation. Same for Religion 14A, the course number would be RELGN 14A, and then the title would be Great Religions of the Eastern World.
You are able to redo your CES form if both student and parent use the same email address and you weren't able to both sign. But you can also send me an email and I'll see if it came to me. If it did come to me and I did sign it, then it might have processed. But in the future, it's best to use separate email addresses.
The next question says, when I applied to Delta, I got an email that says, welcome to Okta, activate Okta account. Do we have to do this right now? Yes, I would get that done as soon as you get that email, because I forget the time frame, but if you don't activate your account within a certain amount of time, that link becomes deactivated, and then we have to request a new link for you. So when you apply to Delta College and you get the email that says activate your Okta account, make sure you click that link. You'll enter your information and create a password, and your Okta account is going to be imperative because that's where you're going to access your student email. That's where you're going to access Canvas, which is where the online portal where our college courses take place, as well as some other resources, including our library and having access to online Word and Excel for certain courses.
The next question is there a specific deadline for a student to quit early college? So if a student registers for classes at Delta College and then they decide a month into the classes that they no longer want to be a part of early college, they don't get to just drop their Delta College classes. Delta College has a deadline for when students are able to drop classes and not have it be on a permanent transcript. Courses taken at Delta College are a permanent record. It stays on a permanent transcript. These classes don't go away. It doesn't work like in high school where if you drop a class, it doesn't show up on your transcript if it's done before the end of the semester.
And we will discuss some of those different dates in our Counseling 11 course, as well as our Counseling 19 course, which students take during the first 2 semesters of the program.
But in the sense of, let's say they do 1 semester and then they decide, you know what, this really isn't for me. If they don't continue, that's totally fine. It doesn't go on their transcript that they discontinued a program. We don't state it anywhere on their high school ARIES or transcript that this person was in early college and now they're not. It's just an extracurricular, it's like playing a sport and then deciding you don't want to play the sport again. It doesn't really affect any part of anything like that. The next question is, can students take courses other than the ones in the plan too? There really isn't enough time between high school and what we have designed in the early college cohort for students to take extra classes. They're doing a pathway class, they're taking their graduation requirements, and they're also earning an ASAA degree potentially. I don't know what else students would want to take. We do try to have them balance their time. We encourage students not to spread themselves thin by trying to play 2 sports and do early college and take 7 classes at the high school. They get burnt out, and I noticed that a lot of their grades slip, and I don't recommend that. If they did want to, maybe in the summer where they're not taking any courses, like the summer of their freshman year, and they wanted to take a class that's not a part of the cohort, they absolutely can. When is registration in My Delta due? So I will be sending email once I get those course numbers for what the fall classes are, and I will be sending information on when to register for those classes. For now, we're just doing the CES forms, getting a hang of that, and making sure that we are ready to register when the time does come. Do I need to necessarily enroll in the prescribed courses in early college pathway? Or can I take 1 course per year? If you're going to be a part of the early college pathway, you have to follow the plan, whether it's IGETC or the ASAA track, exactly how it is. If you're trying to just take classes here and there, then that's a different pathway that you're taking. It's not the early college program. And we do have a lot of students that take some of their history and English, and that's about it at Delta College. And that's also perfectly fine. But as part of the early college program where you're earning a degree or completing the IGETC, you will have to take all the classes that are prescribed to you, quote unquote. Let's see. When we enter 0.5 units for Counseling 11, it says that it's an invalid number. You don't have to write that it's 0.5 units. Just leave that part blank. It will still let you process the CES form. Just put in the Counseling Count 11 and the new student orientation, and that should be good enough.
And worst case scenario, if it's asking you to absolutely enter a number, just enter 1. It'll be okay.
Yeah, we don't have the exact course like number as far as what the section is. So you don't need to complete that part of the CES form. You're able to leave it blank and move on from that section. Are the classes going to be online? And if it's going to be in person, will the classes be conducted? Yes. So Mr. Espinoza did answer that earlier. So if and when Delta College goes in person, early college students are required to attend class in person. The courses are held at the Mountain House campus, the Delta College Mountain House campus. That's right down the high school. It's not far from it. The courses are designed to start after 4 p.m. so that students have adequate time to leave high school, maybe go home, grab something to eat, and then get to the high school, get to the college. So yes, they are designed around the high school times. I believe most of them start around 4:30. And they're usually not on a specific day. It could be any day. It could be a Monday, Tuesday. If you're taking 2 classes, it could be Tuesday, Wednesday. Kind of falls in that range. As far as when you're supposed to register for the class, I will send you that information. So you don't have to worry about missing that deadline right now. I don't have the course numbers. I think we're not even there yet as far as going into My Delta and actually putting in the courses. Once that time comes, please look for, I will say, fall 2022 courses. Please register, and that will be your cue to either do your CES if you already haven't, and then register for the classes. You will have to wait for your CES to completely process, meaning students complete it, parents sign it, counselor signs it, and then Delta College removes your hold in order for you to register for the class. That's why it's so important to get that CES part of it out of the way. So when I do have the course numbers, you're able to add the classes without any holds.
Yeah, and we are still about 2 months away from registration for fall classes at Delta College. So students won't even be able to log into My Delta to register for fall classes until that first week of May. So it's going to be a little wait. So you can definitely get those college early start forms submitted now. And once you have that information from Ms. Aslami, those can be submitted ahead of time to clear the hold. But in terms of actual registration in My Delta, it won't occur until the first couple weeks of May.
For the graduation date, all the CES forms ask for that. You'll just put June 2026. They don't ask for a specific date. They kind of want a range. So you can put May 2026 or June 2026. It doesn't matter.
The next question says, will there be any orientation for students? So we definitely do that through our Counseling 11 course, which is the new student orientation. That course only is usually about 6 weeks to complete that course. Again, it is not a full load. It's only half of a unit in the college setting. And that is where we discuss expectations for students, college processes, introduction to student services that students have, and a lot of other good discussions as well.
Good question. What do you do if you haven't gotten the student ID yet? So before I answer that question, I did want to mention something. In my email, the congratulations, you've been accepted to the cohort email. On the bottom of that email, I gave some guidelines of what to do when you are enrolling to Mountain House High School, to Delta College, when you're applying to Delta College. And one of those questions that the Delta College application asks is, where do you currently go to school? If you put in your elementary school, you might have some errors in your application because Delta College doesn't recognize our elementary schools as schools that they work with. Okay. So when you are starting your Delta College classes, you're going to be a Mountain House High School student. And I did ask all students and parents to put Mountain House High School as your current school, because in the fall, that will be your current school. If you didn't do that, you may have to use the live help chat on Delta College's website to figure that part out of it and correct your current school area of the application. I do remember last year, a lot of students were getting flagged as out of state because you were putting in your elementary school and that wasn't the right thing to put in. If you didn't do that and you put Mountain House High School as your current school, then you should have gotten your student ID, right? Their Delta College ID.
Yes.
Okay. So if you haven't got that, I would encourage you to use the Delta live chat to see where your application is. It might take a little bit longer nowadays just because we just had the weekend, and if you applied like on a Friday, maybe they're still processing all the new student enrollments.
You should definitely get your Delta College student ID within, I would say, a week of when you applied. If you haven't at that point, then visit deltacollege.edu and click chat now in the corner. Make sure you chat with our admissions and records staff to check on the status of your application.
For when you enroll at Delta College, if you put in a 4-year transfer instead of an AS degree, don't worry about that. We'll have time later to correct that. For the CES form, the student fills out the student portion and then clicks begin signing. Yes. The student will fill out all of the emails and the names, and then we'll begin signing their part. And then once they've signed their part, it will go automatically to the parent email address that they've included in that form. Then the parent fills out their part, signs, and then lastly, it will come to the high school counselor, which you should be using my email address. If you didn't use my email address and you used one of the other counselors, don't worry about it. We will sign it. What happens if students moves out of the area during the school year? So if you're in the middle of a semester and the class is in person, it's probably not going to work out.
Right, absolutely. So in the college setting, if the courses are taking place in person, then the student would either have to petition to be dropped out of those courses based on a special circumstance, but that may not always be approved. So the student may end up taking a failing grade for a course if they're not able to complete it, and we're past a certain point in the semester where they can no longer drop the course.
Would there be enough time for my student to study for the SAT? Yeah, I believe there will be, because earlier I had mentioned that in their junior year, when they're taking maybe more difficult classes at Delta College, the high school allows them to take less classes. So they only have to take 4 classes out of the 7 periods if they're in the early college program. That should allow plenty of time for students to study for an SAT exam or something like that.
The next question says, whom do we need to contact if there are any corrections in Delta College application, as the application is not editable after submission? So that is correct. Once you submit it, it is considered closed and submitted and under review. So at that point, you can reach out to the admissions and records office at Delta College, and they might require documents or certain things from you in order to get information updated. But the best way to get a hold of them, again, is to visit deltacollege.edu. You click chat now in the corner and then select admissions and records under departments.
If we take as course but do not complete it or fail it, do we still get it?
So some students do tend to do that. They might try to start out by completing the AS track, right? But let's say you aren't able to successfully complete a course that is specifically for the AS track. You can always fall back and still earn your IGETC.
Yes, we do have students that have started out doing AS and then realized that maybe one summer they can't complete the coursework, and that's perfectly okay. They can just complete the IGETC. Can you elaborate IGETC versus AS degree with 4-year transfer?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's discuss those really quickly. So for students who are completing the IGETC program, they are completing all the lower division general education requirements for the CSUs and the UCs. They're completing about 45 units. And so the students on the IGETC track will end up being considered sophomore status when they start at the 4-year university based on the number of units they have completed. For those students that do the AS degree, they will have completed 61 transferable units. So those students are more likely to be considered as a junior status once they start at the 4-year university. However, all the units that students take in the program, with the exception of a couple of our counseling courses and a couple extra units, are not considered transfer units. But the large majority of these units are all transferable and will all carry with the students to the four-year universities. Let's see here. The next question says, students on visa are flagged as out of state. Is that expected? We come across that issue a lot in the college setting. Depending on how students fill out their application when they apply to Delta College, they might be considered out of state. However, in the college setting, that's not a big issue for our early college students, because for high school students who are taking classes at Delta College, whether they are considered in-state or out of state, their tuition is still being waived, so they do not have to pay for their coursework. The next question says, how do we activate our Delta email again? So when you apply to Delta College, a couple days after that, you will receive an email that says, welcome to Okta. So you can search for that in your email. It'll have a link, and you'll click on that link and enter your information and create a password, and that is how you will create your Okta account. Let's see. The next question is, why is the student flagged as out of state even though they have been entirely in California? Again, it's dependent on the way you answer the questions when you apply to Delta College. This happens quite often that students mistakenly answer a question, or sometimes if you don't enter the name of your high school, because our application system does not recognize elementary schools, it might consider that as out of state. So that's a big thing to be aware of.
If you didn't enter Mountain House High School as your current school and you put in your elementary, it's going to flag you as out of state because it doesn't recognize Altamont, for example, elementary school as a high school. And the Delta database just assumes that you're not in California. Like Altamont is like an out of state high school.
We do have a petition process where that can be corrected. If it is a student that has been entirely in the state of California, all students who are classified as out of state will automatically receive an email from the Admissions and Records Office on how to get that updated and the form to get that submitted as well.
I'm going to talk about, so the next question is, if I take History 2B and History 17 as part of the early college pathway, will these fulfill my Mountain House High School mandatory courses for world history and U.S. history? Yes, it will complete. Right here, we show you how History 17A will complete U.S. history and how History 2B will complete world history. Not only will it complete world history, but it's a weighted class. So you kind of get AP credit, AP type of weight for the class. It's not an AP class because AP classes are only for high schools, but it's weighted like an AP class. Can visa status be the reason why we haven't received the student ID yet?
Typically, it shouldn't be an issue, but if it's something very specific and maybe a document number was slightly off or there was a typo, that's a possibility. Again, I would reach out to our Admissions and Records Office via chat on the Delta College website, because if it's been more than a week, then there's probably been a holdup with your account, and you do want to get that corrected. So as you're seeing here on the screen, this is the Delta College website. In the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see the blue box that says chat now. Currently, it says leave a message because we are beyond business hours. But typically between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m., this will be open. You'll enter your name and your information. At the bottom, there will be a drop-down box that says which department would you like to speak to. You'll just select Admissions and Records, and then you'll click Start the Chat.
Yeah, so if you did put your elementary school, go ahead and use this feature to get that corrected. If a student takes AP courses in Delta College, so Delta College doesn't offer AP courses. Delta College offers college courses. AP classes are only offered at high schools. So I'm not exactly sure what this question is asking. If a student takes AP courses in Delta College and not the high school. Will the students still get credit? Yes. So if students are taking the classes at Delta College, like the ones that we had talked about, the few that count for both, we give them credit. We add their class to their high school transcript. On their high school transcript, it will say that this student took American government, for example, received a grade of whatever it is. They will earn 10 credits for every college class that they take through the cohort, except the counseling ones. And then the ones that we have here. And then we added to their high school transcript showing that they took the class at Delta College. This is the class that they took. This is the grade that they got. These are the credits that they received. So yes, we do add those classes.
And the next question, how can we fix if we entered elementary school in Delta enrollment? Again, that was where you would reach out to the chat. So go to deltacollege.edu, you'll click chat now and select admissions and records on the department.
Where can we see whether the admissions is in state or out of state? If you didn't get an email saying that you've been classified as out of state, then you don't have anything to worry about.
Correct. All students will be notified via email only if they are classified as out of state.
If you are on the I Get You track, that is correct. You do not have any summer courses. And when early college started at Mountain House High School in collaboration with Delta College, there was no I Get You track. And we realized that a lot of our students really wanted to be a part of this program, but also have summers off, which I completely understand. They like to visit family all over the country. And so for that reason, we have provided two different tracks, the ASAA track, where they can receive their associate's degree, or the I Get You, which is plenty of classes, and that way they can enjoy their summers as well. We don't take Math 11, right?
No,
so the question is, do we have to clear for English 1A and Math 11? So English 1A, you don't have to have any like prerequisites. We usually, it's as part of our cohort, you take some of the classes that will
prepare you to enter.
Yeah, that will prepare you.
And then when we take Stats 12, there will be an online prerequisite clearing form that you'll have to complete. But it's very simple. You just enter your information. You'll click Stats 12. You'll submit that. And we send that as a reminder to you when we enroll for that class during that semester.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Great questions. I'm glad we're clearing some of these up. Any other questions? We are a little bit past the time that we allocated for tonight, but we will take maybe a couple more questions and then we'll end our session for tonight. What are the different cohorts for? So this is our 8th cohort program starting. So cohort 1 started way back when this collaboration started, and they're now much older. So cohort 4 is our 8th grade class that joined the early college program, and they are currently on track to graduate with their ASAA degree in May from Delta College. So there isn't a difference between the cohorts. It's just you are the 8th class that's entering the early college program.
Every year we get a brand new cohort, so you are the 8th year that we are offering the program.
And next year's 8th graders that join the early college program will be cohort 9. As a follow-up, if I finish History 2B and History 17 as part of early college pathway, does this mean I don't need to take World History News? Yes, that is correct. If you're taking the class that's equivalent to what you would have taken at the high school, you do not take the class at the high school because that's double dipping. And that's true for a lot of other classes, even though we don't articulate it onto your high school transcript, like psychology. We recommend that you don't take AP Psych at our high school because you're taking it at the college. And in the eyes of most universities, that's the same class, essentially. So APs, I'm going to explain really briefly what APs are. So when students take an AP class, they're preparing for a test at the end of that class. And if they pass the test with a passing score, then they get college credits. When you're taking a college class, you're already getting the college credits. So that's why AP is for high school, where you're preparing to get college credits if you take the AP exam. If you're already taking the class at the college, then you're already earning college credits.
So you don't need to worry about being reflected as any AP credit because you want the college credits. So taking the courses in the college setting will earn you the college credits. It'll be on the transcript. And when you apply to four-year universities, you'll have all of that college credit via your Delta College transcript. The next one says on the Delta website, it says if we are planning to take English 1A or Math 12, we need to complete a form. Do we need to do that?
So again, I wanted to reiterate that if you're asking questions outside of the early college program, please send your counselor an email because this is going to confuse a lot of our other students and parents. You're talking about doing your own plan, and we're talking about the cohort 8 plan. And if you're doing your own plan where you're planning on taking classes on your own outside of the program, that's a separate meeting that you need to have with your counselor.
The next question is regarding calendar and holidays. And so this is a good question. Delta College does have a very separate, calendar from the Mountain House High School does. So we do have different breaks. We do have, different holidays. They might take place on different dates. So just know that those are not 100% aligned. So students are expected to follow the academic calendar for their high school as well as for Delta College, which will look different.
As far as the CES form, you can use whatever email you want to use. There is no specific email that you have to use except for counseling. For counseling, please use my email address. What you use for your own student email,
totally up to you.
Email is totally up to you. All right. We'll take this last question and then we're going to wrap it up. If I don't finish my ECP courses, if I drop in between, can I complete the same courses after MHHS graduation and still, yes, and still be counted for transfer? So let's say you start the early college program, you take a few classes at Delta, you realize that this program is not for you, you want to do something else while you're in high school. You have those courses, they don't go anywhere, and then you want to continue to Delta after you graduate from high school, complete your IGETC and transfer. That's a perfect plan too, if you decide this program isn't for you.
Absolutely.
All right, I want to thank all of you for joining us tonight. I apologize for the technical difficulties. I guess we figured it out, and Mr. Espinoza jumped right in to finish out my presentation. So thank you for that, and thank you all for coming. I hope you have a wonderful night. If you do have a question that you weren't able to ask tonight, please go ahead and send me an email, and I will do my best to answer it for you. And if I can't answer it, I'll forward it off to Mr. Espinoza to answer for you, and we'll get all of your questions answered. Tomorrow morning, I will send that CES form to everybody, whether you've already done it or not. If you've already done it, you can disregard. If you haven't, then I will send clear instructions on what you need to do and send you the link to the form so that we can get that started. We'll stop with the questions and then we'll get back to all of them tomorrow. So if I didn't answer your question, please send me an email. All right.
Thank you very much, everybody. Best of luck.